Hello, everyone, and welcome to You've Retired, Now What? I'm here to help you navigate through these waters of deciding what's the rest of my life going to look like? What's my next phase going to look like? What have I not done that I wanted to do? I'm your host, Michael Kiffmeyer, and each week on this podcast, I give you tips and tricks, processes, and methodologies that can help you through your thought process. So, we got a whole lot to talk about. Let's dive in. So, today's topic, I like to discuss handling depression, stress, and anxiety. When you've decided to retire, you thought about the money and you thought about, am I going to have enough? And you did all the practical things, and all that was well and good. But what you didn't count on is you didn't count that this is a major life transformation. You have worked 30, 40 years, maybe 50, and now all of a sudden you're probably asking yourself, well, I've done my vacations, I've traveled around the world, I've done it twice, and now what? Now what is it that I do? Well, I want to kind of talk about a couple topics with you. One of them is retirement depression and stress. What is this? As I said earlier, many of us picture our ideal retirement, whether it's traveling the world, spending more time with family and friends, pursuing hobbies, or just doing what we want to do. But while we have a tendency to give lots of thought to planning for the financial aspects of it, we often overlook the psychological aspects of retirement. We also we fail to realize that we have an adjustment period, and this adjustment period can really play with our emotions. And what I would like to speak to you tonight about, or today, excuse me, is escaping the daily grind was great, but the daily grind, as much as you thought you hated it, the one thing it gave you is it gave you a sense of purpose. You knew who your identity is. You knew what was expected of you each and every day. Many new retirees have a real feeling of loss, that they've left something behind. They worry constantly, which gives them the stress about, am I going to have enough money to make it? And added pressure that you have is inflation. And we're living longer now. You might not plan to live another 20 or 30 years, but that's a fact. If you retire today, that's a fact. You're probably going to live another 20 to 30 years. Basically, because we've got improved health care, we're taking better care of ourselves. Mentally, we're taking better care of ourselves. And we know a lot more now about the human body and the human emotions than we ever did before. The truth of the matter is this: no matter how forward you've been looking to retirement, work was a significant part of your life. And many people linked work to their identity, but that wasn't true. You didn't have time to work on you, possibly because you've been working all those years. And you were heads down, you were raising a family, taking care of a house, paying bills, and that's who you were. And you never question it. But we have found that when people retire, more than 40% of those retired have regrets. They have regrets because they feel they've lost something. They feel that I knew what I was doing, I knew what my place was, etc. Now I'm trying to figure out exactly what it is. It can be difficult to adjust to retirement because you find yourself just thinking one day, what do I do now? Well, the fact of the matter is, you can do just about anything you want. And I want to implore you, to accept this opportunity, because what you need to do now is you need to reinvent yourself. And I know you might have the old type of retirement in your mind. And what I mean about old time retirement is the fact that our parents and our grandparents, when they retired, well, that was pretty much it. And they just, the rest of their time was leisure time. However, today, the new retirement, people have more to do. People are looking for different avenues. They either want to give back, they want to mentor, some even want to find a part-time job, and some even um, want to start a business. You don't have to, okay? That's completely up to you. Here's the good news. You don't have to answer to anybody except possibly your family and your significant other. You can decide, what is it I always wanted to do? And you can think back when you were kids. Gosh, we changed what we were going to do on a daily basis. In fact, depending who you were talking to, you could change what you're going to do on an hourly basis. And somehow that childlike approach we lose as we get older and we retire. What is that? Because we were always taught that life was in blocks, and that's how we kind of did it. First, you got educated, then you went to work, and then you retired. But there's more now. There's more now because you could, if you're going to have another 20 years to live, if you retire today at 65, that's an awful lot of time not to have a sense of purpose. And that's what you're searching for. You're searching for a new sense of purpose. You're searching for what I said earlier. What do I do now? Who am I now? What is my goal, or what is my purpose? We come to this life always knowing what our purpose is. And if you don't think you have a purpose, I want you to take your hand, put it over your heart, and if that heart's still beating, which I know it is, you're on the face of this earth to serve that purpose. It's your job to find out what that purpose is. So, if your job was particularly draining and it was fast paced, and now all of a sudden you don't have it, well, there's no reason why you wouldn't have a real sense of loss. Um, you had a gratifying social life. Well, that's probably changed too. I'm not going to say the people you worked with before are all going to go away. But if they're still working, you're retired, please understand they're busy. They're not trying to ignore you. All they're trying to do is make a living just like you did, and they're striving to retire. It's not callous to think that uh, you feel lost. It's not callous to think that you need a new sense of purpose. And this podcast, my mission is to help those that have retired, probably more than anything else, with tools, processes, and methodologies to help you design a blueprint for what this next phase of your life might be. The way your outlook is, the way you envision stuff, um, is makes up your persona. When athletes go for a major pitch in baseball, or a long pass in football, I'll guarantee you these athletes, they visualize this before they ever do it. And enough visualization that if you um, uh, think it, then you believe it, and then you can do it. So it's not so hard. And why can't you work at reinventing yourself? Because I'm going to tell you, if you don't, you're going to be real bored. You're going to be real bored. You're going to probably pass before your time because you're not moving. We need to take care of our health, as you've heard me say before. We need to take care of what we eat so that we can live the best possible retirement life that uh, we can. It's not too late. Just because you haven't done anything, say, in the past couple years, with your retirement. Eh, You don't have a timeline, but you do need to get going because um, if you don't, a couple things happen. Number one, you can get depressed. Did you know depression is directly linked to procrastination? And why would you be depressed? Well, you've just walked away from this great job. You had a steady paycheck every week or every month, and you could afford things. And now all of a sudden, you retire, and money might be tight. You might not have as much. And we all say, well, when I retire, I'll cut back my spending. I don't believe that. We are a capitalistic society, especially here in the United States. And if we have spending habits in your working life, and then you think you're going to change them drastically in your retirement life, that's probably not going to happen. And that's all the more reason why you've got to pay attention. Now, I believe that retirement should be a mode of relaxation and enjoyment. You also have to take care of uh, how you're going to live the life that you want to do. You can't just turn the switch off from work and then all of a sudden say, I'm retired. That's where the stress comes in. People get very anxious that they don't know exactly where they're going. You know what? That's okay though. Why can't you finally look at some of the things that you wanted to do? Go back to some of the dreams you always had. Why can't we bring those right back up out of the ashes like a phoenix? That I did this, this, and this, but that wasn't who I was. Here's who I am, and here's what I want to do. And it's going to take several iterations of plans to get exactly where you want to be. If you get yourself depressed, then you feel isolated, and without social connections, how can you interact with people, feel better about yourself, and keep moving forward? And these social interactions, even though you might have to work harder at it, they might lead to something that you never thought or pictured yourself doing. And then all of a sudden you come across something and you say, you know what? This is pretty cool. I believe I could do this. You try it, and if it doesn't work, you throw it away and you start again. You don't have to answer to anybody but you, right? You can do what you want. And like I said earlier, you might have to answer your significant other, but that's okay. And I think it's great if you talk together. You talk and say, I thought I wanted to do this, this, and this. You need to tell your significant other, I'm feeling kind of lost, and kind of get their take on what they think some of your best traits are, what they feel that you'd be very good at now that you've retired. Heck, you might have a hobby that you never could do full time. You got time to do it now because all you got to do is work at preparing this next chapter of your life. And it might take a few times. When you were in your career, did you go to work at the first job and that was it? I say not. I say that, oh, not I say, I know that people don't stay in jobs like they used to. I grew up in a city with a major consumer products firm. Well, I knew many of my friends' fathers worked there for 40, 50 years. Those days are gone. I got a background in information technology, and I can share back in the early 90s, we learned we could outsource a lot of this work at a third of the price. So jobs were eliminated, and then you had to rethink of what you're going to do next. I'm sharing with you right now, there's nothing different. I want you to go back to when you had to change jobs or one of your jobs was eliminated. What did you do? Well, you got to it because you knew you had to make a living, etc. Well, you got to get to this now. You've got to embrace change. There's never progress unless there's change. And I want you to feel good about that. This is what I used to do, but here's where I think I'm going now. Hey guys, real quick, if you've been struggling to answer the question, now what, after you've retired, I'd like to invite each and every one of you to my free Now What challenge that can help you reignite your spark, give yourself a sense of direction, try to decide exactly what it is you want to do in this next phase of your life. People are very smart and they get worn out. I know that. But eventually they know they got to do something more. And you need a purpose to get up and out of that bed each and every morning. I have tools, processes, and methodologies that I'm going to share with you in this challenge that I believe will help you clear your mind and decide exactly what you're going to do in this next phase of your life. You know what happens? We only have the children probably for the 18 years, and then they're off on their own. And then it's you and your significant other with a empty household. You need to fill that gap. You need a reason to get up each and every day. Otherwise, you're going to be filled with stress, anxiety, and depression's going to creep in, and then you're going to have what I like to call analysis paralysis. That is, you're so afraid of making the wrong decision, you make no decision. And I like you to think of a better approach to do that. And a better approach to do that is try something, and if it doesn't feel right, if it doesn't fit your values and your interests, then move on from it and try something else. As I said earlier, this is your life. This is what you had planned for. Why don't we start doing it? And when you take action, you'll be surprised at how much you can accomplish in what kind of time frame. So the tips I want to give you about retirement, number one, I just spoke about, that was embracing change. And, change makes us grow. It helps us grow. We interact with different people. And it's going to take some effort on your part because you're not going to be working possibly inside of a company where everybody was, on a team and we interact. You need to find out, how am I going to replace that? How am I going to replace that social interaction? And I'll tell you, it's very important. Number two, you need to find new meaning and purpose for your life, because that's where people get stuck. You need to say, um, I don't need to earn a living like I used to, but I do have to have a purpose. Your job made you feel needed. It made you feel like you had a purpose, and that you knew exactly where you belong. But when you retire, you don't have that as much. So you got to find meaningful activities that will help enhance the joy in your life. Things like volunteering. Um, Many people and many of my clients that I talk to, um, they're amazed at how fulfilled they feel by volunteering. How about mentoring others? You've got a whole lot of intellectual capital in that mind of yours. And what if you helped others? Probably another thing you could do what I'm doing right now if you have an interest in it, and that is the self education industry. Back in the early 90s, when I first started to introduce online learning, I was looked at like I had two heads. Well, look where it is today. It's mainstream. And from there, it went into people doing YouTubes and TikToks and Instagram. Do you know the self education industry is targeted to be a $1 trillion industry by the year 2028? It's growing every day. and more people are getting their information online than they ever did in a classroom. Colleges are starting to teach where people are, and you can give information to people exactly where they are. How about what you did for a job? Perhaps that's something you could teach to others. Here, I don't care if it's working on a lathe, being a car mechanic, teaching people how to cook, or teaching people how to be a better person. You got this experience, so tip number two is you need to find a purpose. Tip number three, you need to manage your retirement, depression, stress, and anxiety, um, because your life has been flipped upside down. You think everything is will be just wonderful, but then you're going to get that uh-oh moment one day, and you're going to start stressing, and you're going to have anxiety, and all that can lead to depression, and in a you can get stuck in a rut, and all of a sudden you look up and 3 months go. You know, um, I retired first in 2017, and I thought it was all great, but I had that tap on the shoulder, like many of you, and that tap on the shoulder was my mind saying, "What are you going to do now? You're not made to just sit still. You need to do something." And when people do things, um, they that's their sense of purpose. Might not do the same job that you did. There's a gentleman out there by the name of Daniel Buettner. He's online. He's also written a book called The Blue Zones. He did a lot of work traveling this world. He wanted to see what motivated people and why were people in certain areas of the world living to their 90s all the way in their 100. Well, probably the biggest reason he found out is that these people had a sense of purpose. They took care of, they exercised, they took care of their bodies because they needed new, nutritious food to maintain their body and do all the things they want to do. Um, you don't have to go back to 9 to 5. I'm not professing that, but many of you that might be something you want to do. You need to find a way to quit worrying about financially what you're going to do next. We've been hit with the past few years serious inflation in the United States. Um, we have suffered in our retirement funds, and we scramble to figure out how we can make that up. Well, you need to try certain things. You know, years ago, we never had Google, and Google's one of the greatest tools. So is YouTube. You can just type in a subject, you'll be amazed at what pops up to give you ideas, okay? Might be something you never even thought of, but it can keep you moving, keep your mind sharp, and uh, keep you alive. And I know that sounds morbid, but that's exactly what it'll do. When you do social withdrawal, you kind of, I have two neighbors next door. They're both retired. Well, that's exactly what they did. After COVID-19 hit, they kind of withdrew. And we used to talk all the time, but they have gotten within themselves. They're in their mid to late 60s, and we're still kind to them, but I can just see from far how they've withdrawn and they haven't participated. If you do that, it's going to be detrimental to the life you had always planned for yourself in retirement. It leads to low energy levels. Um, and it's hard to motivate yourself when you get in a funk. Okay. So, step number three is you need to find ways to manage your stress and figure out, exactly what you can do in your sense of purpose. Probably the most important thing as we get older is you need to look over your health or look after your health. You need to make sure you stay on top of it. I know you get tired of hearing it, but do you know that cancer's spreading throughout this world, that even young people are starting to get sicker than ever before. And um, much of that is because of the chemicals they put in our food. Fast food is not good for you. You know that, but it tastes really good. But it also can contribute to a weight gain, it can contribute to your health. And as we get older, our autoimmune system starts to um, it starts to not fail, but it's not as strong as it once was. And you got to do everything you can, eat everything you can to protect your autoimmune system and hopefully not get sick. After the age of 50 and into 60, things start to go wrong. And you need to do everything you can to prevent it. You need to make sure you get enough sleep. Um, I'm not the best person to talk to you about sleep because I try my darndest to get 7 or 8 hours of sleep, and I really try. However, I'm a type A person, always got to be doing something, and I find it hard to shut my brain off sometimes. But when I do get good sleep, I find out I'm much more creative, I'm much more enthusiastic, and I accomplish more than I ever had before. So you need to pay attention to that. We've already talked about eating a healthy diet and keeping yourself healthy. You need to talk to your doctor. Um, it's easy, and as you get older, there's nothing wrong with having a drink, but it's easy to slip in that habit of drinking too much. And if you don't have anything to do, it's a way to pass your time. Self-medicating with alcohol or any other substance um, is nothing but detrimental to you, and you need to pay attention to it. You don't need to lean on these crutches. You need to try a variation of new activities. You need to find new things to do. You know, you feel really good, especially if you feel you're drinking too much. You're gonna feel really good um, uh, if you move away from alcohol for a while. And I'm not condemning anybody that drinks. There's nothing wrong with having a beer or a glass of wine at dinner. I'm not faulting anybody. I'm just asking you to just pay attention because it's real easy for it to kind of take over your life. You don't want that. You had planned this whole time for retirement. So have you asked yourself, and this is finally tip number 5, um, are you an adult with depression? Do you know how you um, what makes you depressed? It could be a variety of things. It could be you lost your job. It could be, or you haven't lost your job. You moved away from your job. You don't have a regular paycheck coming in every month. You don't have a sense of identity. All these things can work together, and at the end, all of a sudden, you find yourself depressed. You find it's harder and harder to get through the day. And some of the symptoms of depression can affect every aspect of your life. So you need to pay attention to these things. And if you've listened to any of my podcasts in the past, I've always said you can't set it and forget it. You've got to keep working and don't isolate yourself because you because that's detrimental to your overall health. It aids depression, and you don't want to be depressed. Life's too great, too many things to do. And if you're reluctant to talk about your feelings, well, we've developed a group here that's exactly what you can do. You can talk to your family, you can talk to um, a group, you can talk to somebody at church. If that is difficult for you, well, it might be difficult for the other person too. Talk to people your own age. You'll be surprised how many people share some of your own thoughts. So the key to combating depression, know the early signs and do everything within your power to stop that. The feeling of hopelessness and helplessness shouldn't have to be. There's too much out there. If you find yourself with a lack of motivation, you have difficulty sleeping, you talk to your doctor and see how you can get back on track. Many people, as they get older, they get so depressed they don't eat, and this is not good for that ideal retirement you always thought that you planned for and you always thought would happen. We've got time to fix it. So I want to thank you for listening today. And for those that you are watching on YouTube, I want to thank you as well. If you want to learn more about how do I get myself on a track to uh, live the life that I kind of want to. I need a blueprint for my retirement life, or what I call your next phase. Um, I'm holding a free challenge. It's going to be called the Now What Challenge. It'll be a week long, an hour each day. We'll do it over Zoom. And what we're going to do in this challenge is number one, we're going to ask ourselves, what is your why? Why do you want to do what you're doing? What's your motivator? Why are you doing it? And the other thing is, where do you want to be? If you can start to answer those questions throughout this challenge, I think you're going to be ahead of your peers. You're going to lean towards more happiness for yourself, and you're going to feel completely fulfilled. Just because you're retired, life's not over. And I want to be able to help you with tools, process, methodologies, and answers that might be nagging at you on a constant basis. If you have interest in this, please keep watching this podcast and listening to it. Share it with friends and colleagues, family members, because they too could be struggling with their thought process. And let me know. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Facebook. Twitter turned to X. I forgot. I'm on X. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn, and a couple others. If you like my email address, please reach out to mfkiffy1@gmail.com. So that's M as in Michael, F as in Frank, K as in Kate, F as in Frank, F as in Frank, Y, the number 1@gmail.com. And I will send you an invite to this challenge. It's 100% free to you. The only thing that's going to cost you is a little bit of time. And the value you're going to get is you're going to learn a lot, and it's going to be able to help you move those negative thoughts out of your mind. I want to thank you for listening and watching, and I hope to see you again soon. If there's questions that you have, please ask. And if I don't know the answers to them, I'll get the answers to them. If there's a topic that you'd like to discuss further, please let me know that as well. So I'm going to say goodbye for now. I really appreciate all of you that have shown up, and stay tuned. I'll see you again next week. Bye now. Hey, before we conclude this episode, I'd like each and every one of you to know that your thoughts, your dreams, and what you would like to get out of this podcast is valuable to me. My whole goal and my mission is to serve you like I have served others. For years, I had taught major corporations how to use learning as a competitive advantage. I want to do the same for you. So please leave your notes or reach out to me, and I want to gear this podcast towards your wants and needs and help you as much as I can. Again, this is Michael Kiffmeyer, and you've listened to You've Retired, Now What? I want to thank each and every one of you for listening.